You're listening to the Unwritable Rant podcast with your host and bourbon-soaked storyteller, Juliette Miranda.
Hey there, y'all. It's Juliette Miranda, and this is episode 151 of the Unwritable Rant podcast. I think I'm going to take a break from my usual bourbon-soaked storytelling this episode and instead give you my conversation with Jim Florentine. Jim's a comedian, and he is an actor. He was the voice of characters like Special Ed and Bobby Fletcher on the Comedy Central show Crank Yankers. He's had a ton of appearances on The Howard Stern Show, and he was a correspondent on the HBO series Inside the NFL. Jim's on tour right now, and he has a new comedy special coming out later this year. So we're going to talk about his comedy career, and we get into some of his more crazy experiences on the road. And we also talk about his book, Everybody is Awful Except You, which is out right now on Da Capo Press. I gotta say, Jim is a hell of a guy. He is raw, and he is incredibly real. So it was awesome to talk to him and get his take on comedy today. Now, before we kick things off, I do want to give a very special thank you to comedian Bob Levy, who was nice enough to give me a little bit of dirt for this interview. And if y'all are looking to pair today's conversation with a whiskey, well, I'm drinking Wild Turkey 101, and it is so fitting. It really is. Hope y'all enjoy it. Cheers, y'all. Hi, Jim. Thanks so much for calling in.
No problem.
I was talking to Bob Levy before the show. He pretty much said that you probably regretted ever going on tour with him.
No, I loved it. Best times of my career. Bob was a great guy, and we had plenty of fun times together. And you have to experience stuff. Go out and have some fun, do some, get on the road and experience life so you can have something to write about.
Do you think that you need to go through pain in order to be funny?
You don't have to. But you could use it to be funny. I don't necessarily know you need to have it. But, if you could turn it into comedy gold, pain, that's always great.
I was talking with Bob. He was telling me, kind of you get older, your life changes. Sometimes that has an effect on the way that your comedy works. Have you experienced that at all?
Well, yeah, I guess because you write about, what's going on in your life. I never wrote about being married at the time and having a kid and raising my kid now, as a single dad. So I didn't think I was going to be writing that material 10 years ago.
So it's not like being, in rock and roll where you cut the drugs and the groupies out and suddenly you're releasing an album like 5150.
Well, there's no groupies in comedy, rarely. Comedy is more of a couples thing. It's not, a bass player in a cover band that's playing at the corner bar could have 4 girls that want to hang out with him after the show. And he's playing covers. So, a comic can play in front of 1,000 people and they go, oh, you're really funny. But they don't like you like that. You're not a rock star up there.
So if that's the case, where did all the girls come from on tour? The stories about you being out there with Norton and Rich Voss, those are legendary.
Well, look, it's going to happen here and there. It will at some point, you know what I mean? But it's not like every night, like, oh, my God, there's 3 or 4 girls coming in bands. I was friends with guys in bands, and I saw that stuff going on. I'm like, this is insane. This doesn't happen with comedy. You're not getting couples that are going to see a rock band or, so a band, it's like, or married people. A comedy is more of a date thing. You're not getting 6 hot chicks that go, let's go to the comedy club and we'll go fuck the comedians.
No, I suppose you get more bachelorette parties than you do that.
Yeah, and then you can never pull one out at a bachelorette party because you got 6 other cock blockers not going to let one of the friends go.
Right. There's no winning with that group.
Yeah, there's no way you can ever pull one out.
Well, you're on the road right now, so how are audiences treating you?
Yeah, everything's great, People come to clubs, they're laughing, they're not uptight. Whatever's going on in the media is not coming into the comedy clubs. No one really cares about that. They just want to laugh. The media makes it out there like, if you say the word shit on stage, people are going to walk out. That's not happening. None of that is.
I find it interesting. I hear so many different reports about that, but like you've said, whenever I go to comedy shows, I see people, they're enjoying it, they're having fun. But also, I feel like a lot of comedians themselves are making it sound as though there's this big shift in thinking and having to change their acts in order to meet expectations.
No, well, that's that. They're just conforming. You know what I mean? They're just following what's going on. It's like the ice bucket challenge. People go, oh, is that what everyone's doing? Then I need to do it. Is everyone else doing the ice bucket? Then I better do it too, because I got to feel like I'm a part of it. So those comedians that are doing that are just the followers. You know what I mean? Like, okay, is this what's going on now? Is this what I'm supposed to do? You know what I mean? And you don't stop. You're staying true to yourself.
It's interesting. I mean, I feel like, you look at the history of comedy, you've got these great, boundary pushing comedians from the 60s and 70s, like Pryor and Carlin. And in the 80s, you had really edgy, cool humor like Otto and George. And I don't necessarily know if I'm seeing a lot of that now.
There are guys out there doing it, but they're not getting necessarily on Netflix or anything like that because, they're being careful about what they're putting on. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there isn't. Maybe this generation of comics isn't great like they were in boundary pushing, but they're definitely out there. The crowds are every comedy club I go in around the country, from San Diego to Albany, New York. I always ask the club owners, are more people walking out? Are more people offended? And they go, no, not at all. Actually, the people know who the comics when they come here. Every comedian has a clip online, so they can go look to see. So they're not just walking in blindly and go, "What is this? This is my kind of humor." He goes, so everyone pretty much checks the comic out before they come in. He goes, so we're really not getting that at all.
What about somebody like Louis C.K. coming out and doing a random show out of nowhere? I mean, I don't think there was any pushback from it, but I did hear a little bit of rumblings from people saying I wasn't expecting to see him. Is that the same thing?
That's just the press blowing it up, blowing it out of proportion. The press just wants to make that a story. It's really not. They don't realize in a comedy club what goes on. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not for you, if you're offended by anything, or if you're, always outraged by this and that, and you're fighting with people on Twitter all the time about whatever, or Facebook, don't come to a comedy club. It's just not for you. You know what I mean? There's places that you just shouldn't go. So just go hang out in places where you feel, you know what I mean? Go hang out in the coffee shop and talk about, whatever. That's where you belong. You don't belong in a comedy club. And I think the comedy club owners are knowing that. They go, hey, man, I don't know what to tell you. This is a comedy club. They tell jokes. It's more the media blowing it up. Look, in a nutshell, if you would have broke it down, like, according to the media, Trump was going to get maybe 10 votes and Hillary was going to get 160 million. And who won the election? Because the media just twists everything. So they think in this comedy club scene, they're writing all these articles. Is comedy funny anymore? Are you allowed to take chances? Louis C.K. came on stage. Is that okay? Is anyone offended? What if he walks on stage and he's not announced? Is someone going to feel threatened, or, they got blindsided? It's all bullshit. Nobody cares. People just come to a comedy club to laugh.
I was talking to Nick DiPaolo, and he told me that he's had people just so emboldened by their cell phones that they will walk right up on stage and snap selfies during his set.
Some people are a little distracted by the phone. I don't see it too much. I don't see it too much where people are just looking down at their phones and not paying attention to the stage. You'll get that here and there, but there's a lot of entertainment on the phone. So you got to compete with that. That's the thing. But the comedy clubs are all thriving, man. The comedy's doing really well. I mean, maybe it's because of the economy. The economy's doing well. People have money, but, the comedy clubs are, crowded. No one's hurting. So it's a good time. I think, people are just bombarded with all this media, just negative. Everyone's offended by everything and getting hysterical and overreacting on everything, that they just want to come to a comedy club and go, I just want to laugh for an hour and a half.
I will say it makes great source material. Your book, Everybody's Awful Except You, and your podcast really just dissects the behavior of people on these sites. It's hysterical. Thanks.
And look, getting back to it, it's like, that's what I'm saying about people are going, I got to alter my act because of what's going on now. It's like, you're not being true to yourself. I'm dissecting people there. It's like, it's almost like, remember when nu metal came out, like, Limp Bizkit and all those bands?
Sure.
Okay, so that was like a thing for like 3 years. It was huge. And there was a couple bands, like a couple metal bands, like a band called Machine Head, who sounded more like Metallica. they decided to do a rap metal album. There was like a couple other bands.
Yes.
And that shit was over in like 3 years. And now they look back at the catalog like, wow, that was a mistake. Why did I do that? Because that's what it's almost like what the comics are doing now. You know what I mean? Like they're just conforming to what's going on right this moment. You know what I mean? And they don't even know what's going to happen. They're just, okay, is this what I got to do? And that's what Machine Head did. I'm just using them as an example. And a couple other bands, they go, "This is everyone loves this, so we're gonna make." And then meanwhile, you know, as soon as that was over, they're embarrassed by those albums, and they should be. But in that time, they thought, "I'm just gonna go with the trend of what's cool," and that's what these comics are doing. Like, I better alter my act because that's the trend.
Well, I'd say you've stayed very true to yourself with your comedy. I mean, starting with, terrorizing telemarketers and crank anchors. You've constantly had this straightforward, fuck it, here I am kind of approach, which is awesome.
Look, that's just the way I am. It's like I'm the same person on stage and off stage. You know what I mean? Like that's what I know. I'm not gonna just be some character on stage that's gonna kiss the audience's ass. You know, and it's just like, okay, here's a joke. You didn't like that one? I got another one coming. You didn't like that one? Here's another one. I never tried to kiss the audience's ass. I know I'm not gonna get everybody. If you can get a certain percentage of a comedy audience to like you and follow you and come to your shows, that's all you can ask for. The person that tries to shoot for 100% of the audience, try to get everybody, is just going to compromise and going to be just a safe, mediocre act because he's trying to appease everybody.
In your book and on the podcast, you talk a lot about internet dating. And I know there is a wealth of material there because I used to use Match.com, and I once had a guy show up with a parrot on his shoulder.
A guy shows up with a parrot on his shoulder. It's like, can you be asking for any more attention?
Yeah.
You think that guy wants the relationship to be about him? Any guy that's walking around with a guitar, the guy that's playing the acoustic guitar just anywhere on the street corner, that guy's just, craving attention. And same with a guy walking around with a parrot or a snake. That relationship is going to be all about him. Yeah, he's like, look at me, look at me, look at me. I got a parrot. People talk to me. Talk to me.
When I was reading your book, what I enjoyed the most in it was some of the personal stories that you related. And I had never heard the story about you being a stink bomb terrorist.
Oh, yeah. I've been, carrying stink bombs for a long time and dropping them. Yeah, me and Jim Norton, that was like our thing.
How did you even think you could get those on an airplane?
Yeah, because I always bought them on an airplane before 9/11. So it was never a problem. You know what I mean? Like they weren't checking bags like they were before that. So to me, it was just like if I had to fly in a plane or whatever, I just had them in my bag. But after that happened, they were just really looking through everything, especially right after 9/11. They were just like, they were going through everyone's bags, and especially going through, like if I would have packed it, I think in a suitcase, it might not have been a problem because they weren't checking every suitcase, but I was bringing it as a carry-on.
Getting cornered by TSA was probably pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, and when you're in your 30s, you really shouldn't be carrying on stink bombs. I can't blame it on anybody but myself.
No, and it seems like a common theme of people were saying, what were you thinking? How old are you?
Yeah, it's always, what are you thinking? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. I've always been like that.
No, faking an abortion while a telemarketer calls probably wasn't the greatest idea either, but it worked out.
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't think there was anything wrong. Like, I didn't even think, no, this might go wrong. This might be a problem. I'm like, that's funny. Let's do it. I think that's what's good about comics, though, when they don't overthink something. And they're edgy guys, they just go for it. Because if you overthink it, you're not going to, as soon as it's almost like if a threesome is going to go down. If the girl has time to overthink it, it's never going to happen. It just has to happen. Because there's too many variables in there. Why I shouldn't do this, and you probably shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm going to see these people again. It's going to be all weird. They're my friends, or I kind of know this guy. He's going to tell everybody. All of this stuff. I might get jealous, whatever. So it's just got to have to happen. Same thing with comedy. When you're doing something really edgy, just do it.
So you've never once, overthought anything. Have you ever actually regretted something, or was it just, lesson learned?
It's funny because as I get older now that I got a kid and stuff, and I got to be more responsible. I definitely go, I'm not going to do that. I'm not, like if I was going to do some crazy bit or like these hidden camera things that I used to do, like mess with people with a hidden camera. I'd be like, I can't do that. That's risky. I might go to jail. I might get in trouble. Before, I never thought about that.
You mentioned your son. I know he's been getting involved in comedy as well. How do you feel about that?
Hey, he likes it, If he doesn't like, he likes getting up there on stage. He is, come on, Dad, let me go up tonight, or sometimes he doesn't feel like going up, whatever, if he's with me. But he plays music, too. He takes music lessons, and my nephew's in a band that he goes up there and sings in a band. So he likes being up on stage. And then he likes being a kid right after that, and then goes plays with his wrestling action figures right after that.
Between the two, do you think comedy or being a rock star would be better?
Probably a comedy, because you only have to deal with yourself. A band, he's got to deal with 4 other people. Is showing up for practice. My nephew's 19. He's going through that. He can't get anyone to stay in a band with him. I would recommend comedy, because then you're your own boss. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to rely on 4 other people. If the bass player gets in a fight with his girlfriend and doesn't show up for practice or a gig, you're screwed. But comedy is just all on you.
How did you never become a musician?
I can't play. I'm not good. I don't have any music talent. You know what I mean? I tried, but I just didn't have any.
Now, did I hear that you have a comedy special coming out in December?
Yeah, somewhere by the end of the year. Yeah, I don't know where yet. We're still trying to figure it out. But either way, it'll be out there. Yeah, it's a special I filmed about a year ago. It's about my divorce. It's called I Got the House.
And do you think you're going to be making it out to Chicago? Because I know it's not on your calendar right now.
I hardly ever do Chicago for some reason. It's really weird. I don't know. That's not that I don't want to. I just never get booked there. I don't know. It's one market I just never go to. And I would love to. It's just, I don't know. I just haven't, I always tell my agent, try to get me in Chicago. So I'm trying, and that's it. So it ends right there.
There are tons of clubs here now, ones that just opened up outside the city. And that's the sneaky thing that we do. We call it Chicago Club, and it really winds up being, 20 minutes outside O'Hare Airport.
I've done a couple of theaters there with Artie Lang and those guys. I just never, I got to get back there. I'm hoping at some point.
I hope you do. So your book is Everybody is Awful Except You. The podcast is Comedy Metal Midgets. And where can people go to find more information?
Just my website, jimflorentine.com. Also, everything's up there.
Jim, thank you for talking with me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on. Hopefully I'll get to Chicago at some point. You know what I mean? Come out to a show.
Go to theunwritablерant.com and sign up to get early access to interviews and new videos. And don't forget to connect with Juliette on Twitter @MorningNeurosis.
Girl, you was pretty as a Sunday morning, standing on the corner at Carondelet. What you say we make our way up to Bourbon, couple hurricanes and a hand grenade, and get blown away. Let the chips fall where they may. If it's all the same, what you say, bon ton, hey, pretty mama, I can smell the gumbo. Sweetest taste of honeysuckle on my lips. Good God Almighty, I can hear the trombone. Every heart ought to beat to a rhythm like this. Come a little closer, honey, let me hold you. Nothing tastes better than a bourbon kiss. You can be the flower on my magnolia. Every heart ought to beat to a rhythm like this.